Hello and welcome to Black Bear Atheist. If you're new to this channel, well don't worry, I got you. I'm just a bear who look at apologetics video and point out things that don't make any sense. Today we're gonna try something different though. We're checking out one of my favorite Oyinbo actor, and he is a comedian too. I think he's an actor comedian, Jim Carrey. This man is amazing at what he does. I really love this man. However, he thinks suffering leads to his God and Jesus, and I don't think so.
I've had some challenges in the last couple of years myself, and ultimately, I believe that suffering leads to salvation.
Yes, life can be difficult, and pain comes and go, but I'm sorry that does not lead to salvation. It does not lead to your God. It should show that your God is either cruel, does not give a fuck, or does not exist. Let me explain. If the biblical accounts are true, then God is cruel to let children die of cancer, to let people suffer every day. It is fucked up to see all this and do nothing. Second thing is that God does not care, and that explains why He created us and decide to do nothing. It does not care. Now you may be like, isn't the first and the second option the same shit? Not really. If God exists and decide that He does not care about man, it is different from Him actively helping Christians find their car keys, but letting kids die of cancer. Option 1 is that He is cruel. Option 2 is that He doesn't care. The last option is that it doesn't exist. Pain should lead you to ask this question. Is God cruel? Does God care? And lastly, does He even exist? Pain, in my own opinion, does not lead to salvation of some sort or finding your God. It should lead to questions if you already believe. I have all asked the second question, does God care? I've always convinced myself or just ignore the question. I've never asked myself the first or the third for a long time. That's the reality, Jim Carrey. Life has suffering in it. And if you're saying God exists, you have to admit the fact that He is either cruel or does not give a fuck. If God does exist, it is both, in my opinion, and does not care. At the same time, rubs it on our face when He helps Christians find their car keys.
We have to somehow accept, not deny, but feel our suffering, and then we make one of two decisions. We either decide to go through the gate of resentment, which leads to vengeance, which leads to self-harm, which leads to harm to others, or we go through the gate of forgiveness, which leads to grace, just as Christ did.
If someone hurt you, you could take whichever fucking way you want to heal. Religion said the other way of not forgiving is bad, but that depends on the person. I'm not saying to hurt yourself or hurt people, but if someone hurts you, forgiveness is not always the answer. I remember trying to have my sister forgive this person when I was a Christian still. I'm trying to say, let it go. Jesus said to forgive and all that shit. I gave up because she's stubborn as hell. She's still a Christian, and I don't think she is forgiving that individual. That is her choice. She does not have to forgive. If you choose to forgive, do it, but not because religion told you to do so. That is not letting go. I'm unlearning that shit now.
On the cross, He suffered terribly, and He was broken by it. To look upon the people who were causing that suffering, or the situation that was causing that suffering, with compassion.
Also, just because a man may or may not have forgiven those who crucified him 2,000 years ago should not influence your decision when it comes to how to handle your pain. You can't forgive people without being a Christian. It takes away from you forgiving when you do it because religion said to. It is like you're forced to forgive when you have no actual reason or you haven't convinced yourself to let go. It fucks you up when you're supposed to move on and that's what religion says to do, but you're not. It fucks with you when you feel like you need to forgive but you cannot forgive. That is one of the harm in religion and Christianity to be specific.
And with forgiveness. And that's what opens the gates of heaven for all of us.
Okay, so someone asked to die for the gates of heaven to open. Walk me through this. So, God asked to kill himself to forgive his own creation. All powerful being could not have just done it. Jim, if Christianity is how you handle your pain, that is okay. But understand that religion comes with its own pain. It breaks people down, make you feel like you're never enough. You don't deserve to live your life. That religion makes you a slave. Christianity makes you a slave. If that is okay with you, then enjoy Christianity. I checked out when I noticed that those that are not in Christ, their lives were just as happy or sad as me. I noticed I was even worse to an extent because of how Christianity makes me think. So this is a woman with the best name in the world, China McClain. I don't know where my love for China has grew. Probably watching a bunch of Jackie Chan and Jet Li movies in Nigeria. But I love that country. Not everything they do, but yeah, it's a nice place. I wish to visit in the future. So we're gonna get started and yeah.
Well, how do you know that it's like Christianity's God? There's a very famous astronomer named Robert Jastrow. His credentials as a scientist are impeccable. And he said himself, being agnostic, he's not even a Christian. He said that all of the essential elements of the Big Bang Theory line up with biblical creation.
I don't care who and what fucking credential. The Adam and Eve shit does not line up with anything. The in the beginning let there be light shit lines up with nothing either. Fun fact, God does not even know the sun is a star. I knew she was a Christian like a lot of black American population. But this is not what I was expecting.
Because this is how God works. God speaks something and then science runs to catch up with what he said.
How do you know that? Also, for the most part of history, how throughout history, religion has ruled over science or anything that looks like science. Science starts having some breathing air during the Enlightenment. This is between the 17th century and the 18th century. This is 400 years ago. Science was still limited but given some space to breathe. Science had 400 years to develop to what we have today. Religion could have done that for 2,000 years. Christianity could have done that for 2,000 years. We would have still think the sun is not a star, if not for science. Stars are just decorations in heaven according to the Bible. They're not. We would still think that snakes and donkey can talk. Would still believe in fairy tale. So no, that's not how it works, girl. Science does not follow up with God or whatever God say because you haven't even proved that God exists to begin with.
Science doesn't create anything.
The point of science is not to create, but to find out how shit works.
Science studies creation. And while I'm doing this video on this topic already, let me just answer a question that I always get. Who created God? God didn't come to be. God is eternal. The way
That is a very convenient and a dumb answer. So a complex being who created this complex expanding universe is eternal and does not need a cause. If you say the clouds are too complex to be naturally explained, if you say the clouds are too complex to be naturally explained, saying it is the end of God makes it more complex. Saying it is the end of God makes it more complex. Science still have to answer why and how that works. Yes, human and the universe is all complex, but putting a God above begs the question, and it is a reasonable question that you fail to answer. I see Frank of
a lot of people thought the universe was until science disproved it. God is the cause, the universe is the effect. God is eternal. He is capable of existing outside of space, time, and matter.
I see Frank Turek has found his sister. No, girl, that is nothing. You're describing nothing. We have no idea if God exists before the Big Bang. You can't just shove God there. That is the God of the gaps. And if you're saying God is outside of time, space, and matter, you're basically describing nothing.
None of us can even wrap our little brains around that.
Yet Christians say they know this God and He is their God. It's whatever you say at this point. I think people should start sticking to what they're specializing in. That's it for today. If you liked the video, like and subscribe.